Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the Sloan Smart and Connected Restroom webinar. My name is Tiffany Smith, and I am the Marketing and Communications Director here at PM and Associates. And today we are so excited to be joined by Faye Badger from Sloan. Faye is the Sloan Product Line Manager for IoT Solutions, and her background includes working with wireless technologies and software systems at companies like Motorola. And in addition to IoT Solutions, Faye manages the Programmed Water Technologies, or PWT system, and Sloan Connect. We are thrilled to welcome Faye today. And if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to type them in the comment box. And after the presentation, we're going to have about a 5 to 10 minute question and answer for any questions received during the webinar. Just so everyone is aware, this webinar is being recorded, and the recording will be available on the PM and Associates YouTube channel for future viewing. Thanks again to everyone who's joining us, and Faye, I'm going to toss it over to you.
All right, well, thank you so much, Tiffany. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Smart and Connected Restroom webinar. So today we're actually going to review the different types of connected solutions that Sloan offers and go over the benefits of each. So most of you are familiar with our Sloan Connect, which is our mobile app, and this is a smart solution. It is free. You can download it from either the Apple Store, or an Android version is also available. So what Sloan Connect does is it actually is the app. It talks to one of our devices. So any one of our Bluetooth devices, such as the Optima faucet, some of the Basis, the different Solus and G2 flushometers. So it connects via Bluetooth, looks at everything, allows you to change settings, and then sends all of that data to the platform. So just to give you an idea, some of the data that we collect, we take a look at the number of hours that the product has been in operation, the total number of activations, which would be the number of flushes or the times the faucet has actually run, the total accumulated activation time and water usage, what's going on with your batteries, and just all the different settings. So this app is designed to save you time and labor. So you can change settings through the app. You no longer have to get down, the plumbers don't have to get on their back, go and change dip switches or pull off the cover to the control box to try to figure it out. So the usage information helps you with when to do diagnostics. You can see from the battery power level when you need to change the batteries so that you can change them then and not any sooner. So all of these things are designed to save you time and money. Now, the reason we go over this now is this is actually the basis of Sloan Smart and Connected portfolio of solutions. So what we want to do is, now that we have Sloan Connect, we are this, which we consider our good solution, we are going to move on into something that we consider one of our better and our best solutions. So Sloan Connect is very beneficial. It gives a lot of things, but we're going to shift it. And let's just take a look at what we mean by that. First of all, with Sloan Connect, you have a local person. Somebody takes their phone, goes into the restroom, stands fairly close to a product, and connects to it. So you have one-on-one communication. Person is talking to one product at a time. The data only gets collected whenever somebody is there in the room and connects to it. It's very local, meaning you have to be there. Anything you do, you have to be present. And this information just gets stored. So we've gotten a lot of feedback from people, and now we're shifting into something that has very different in many of these regards. So first of all, instead of local, SC Argus Pro, which is our top IoT solution, has remote operation. It's on the internet. You no longer have to be there in person. Instead of you, we've installed a bridge somewhere that can talk to a lot of different restrooms. And I'll go more into the architecture in a bit. It communicates to many products all at the same time, so you don't have to connect and disconnect. It collects the data automatically and regularly, so you're always seeing in near real time what's going on in your products and across your entire facility every single day. You can reprogram it. You can change settings remotely. You can run diagnostics remotely. And instead of having this information that just gets stored, our data, you now have information. So this is something that we can actually analyze, that you can analyze, you can pull together and review reports and alerts. So instead of just saying, okay, we're connecting to a product, you now have full remote device monitoring and management. So one of the key things about this system is it is full two-way communication. It collects the data from the products, and then it can also send commands to make changes down to the products. So it gives you all sorts of information about the products that are connected to it. You can actually start taking a look and identifying potential issues before they occur. So for example, you can say, oh, my batteries are about 19%. I should go change them before they go no longer strong enough to power the product. Or you can say, wow, I've got over 200,000 activations on this flushometer. I should schedule some preventative maintenance during my next trip to that area of the building. So the result of all of this is just a great labor savings and gives you some really good cost efficiencies across your system. And just one other thing we really want to take a look at is customer satisfaction. So if you're in a building, customers love to have buildings that are neat and clean, where they know that everything is going to function the way it's supposed to function. So while it's a soft value, it's certainly one that customers and building managers are very interested in. So we call our system SC Argus Pro. And you may be wondering, well, how did you arrive at that name? So the SC stands for Sloan Connect. And that's because this is the basis for all of our products. Argus is actually the mythological being that was 100-eyed, all-seeing, all-knowing. That's because our product can connect to hundreds of different products and it knows what's going on. It sees what's happening within them. And then the Pro is because this is our top tier, our professional line, really designed for building managers, plumbing managers, sustainability directors, and others like that. So one thing that's just really important when you start talking about this and learning more is the value it actually provides to customers. Whenever you're actually installing a faucet or flushometer or even an air deck sink, it's pretty easy for the customers to see the value in that and say, okay, I know why I want to pay money for that. It gets a little more difficult when you're talking about software and reports and features. And to even top that off, what we have found is different markets and different types of customers actually place value on different aspects. So it isn't like this is a one solution fits everybody. Everybody is a little unique in that aspect. So what we've done is we've worked with a lot of different customers, done a lot of VOC to really understand the value that they are looking for in a smart and connected restroom. And what we've done is we've actually divided the savings into 4 different buckets. So we've got labor and time savings, the health and hygiene aspects, just the time saved, the swift resolution for alarms, and the value of all of the reports, the usage, and information. So just to give you an idea of how these have different emphasis with different customers, let's just examine a few of them that I spoke with. So when I talk to commercial buildings, they really value the time and labor savings. It's a bit of a labor shortage right now. There's more plumbers that are actually retiring than there are coming in. So it's such a tight labor market. They want to know what they can do to save time and labor because they have a staff and that's all the people they have to work with. They're also very interested in customer satisfaction, which gets into that swift resolution. When I talk to different buildings that have intermittent use, so let's say a university or a stadium, they are very interested in some of the line flush capabilities. And that's just because while this building sits empty and unused, the water just sits in those pipes and it can tend to become stagnant. So they're very interested in saying, hey, what can I do to do a line flush and keep that water fresh so that I do not come back, open my building before the season next year or before the school starts back up and have some issues with microbial growth. Finally, just one other one as far as in the reports, in the Southwest and in other areas, we've even seen this in like Nashville, there are places that use reclaimed water. And there are certain municipalities that are offering rebates to buildings who use reclaimed water because that's a direct savings of fresh water. Well, in order to actually get that rebate, they have to be able to show the water savings. So just the ability to do a report, let's say only on one particular building or area, only on the flushometers, the water closets, and the urinals that use this reclaimed water is extremely valuable to them. So just to, to like give you a bit of an idea. And now let's just take a look at each of these in just a bit more detail. So when we talk about time savings, there's different ways it saves time. So first of all, preventative maintenance timing. If you know about how often the products are being used and what their cumulative use is as far as the number of activations, that can help you understand when you need to schedule preventative maintenance. The other thing you can do is you can start taking a look at your different usage patterns and comparing them to see if there's any type of anomaly. So a great one for this that we've seen is we will go into a facility with our system and we'll note that all of the water closets are being used at least once an hour, typically in minutes. And we notice one has not been used in 3 to 4 hours. So, that may be a great indicator. It's an anomaly. So just send someone down and say, can you check that particular stall? Maybe it's dirty, so people aren't using it. Maybe it's not working right, or maybe somebody's sick. So it just gives you a quick idea of the types of anomalies. And that way you're doing this ahead of time and you only dispatch people when you need to. Another way it does is it lets you know what part to take. So if you run diagnostics and it says you got a failed solenoid, you know the correct part to take with you so that you can get that part corrected and the product up and running in one trip. You can view your battery replacement timeframes, replace them when they need to be replaced versus on a timed basis. Let's say I've talked to companies and they say, every spring when we spring forward, the batteries all get replaced, whether they need it or not. Report preparation. We talked to a customer who said, I used to spend my Friday mornings doing reports. Now I spend maybe 15 to 20 minutes. I pull more reports than I ever did before. And my boss is very happy. He likes reports. And finally, just the line flush labor, just the ability to do this remotely so that you don't have to send a person down to go through and flush all the toilets and run the faucets can be a huge labor savings during the times that you may need that done because the building isn't in use. If we take a look at some of the line flush capabilities, what we have here is, if water sits in the lines, you guys could probably tell me far more than I can tell you about this. What happens is you can start getting some chlorine buildup. You can get some stagnant water. You can get some pretty smelly gases that start coming up the traps. You can start getting dry traps, so that a lot of microbial growth in there. And so it's all from the water just sitting. And when this happens, it can actually cause some health and sanitation issues in the restroom. So what you can do then is you can set a line flush. And you can set this to automatically happen. And the whole idea is just to keep the water moving to help minimize microbial growth, minimize the stagnant water and the smelly gases. So the system allows you to go in for the faucets. How long do you want the water to run? And how often do you want the water to run? If you're working with the flushometer, it's just how often do you want it to flush? Once a day, 3 times a day, you tell it how many systems now or how many times a day. So the nice thing about it being remote is if you're a university, you can put this and you can implement everything about the 3rd week of May when all the students go home. And then come the 2nd week of August, when everybody's back in the buildings, the maintenance team's getting it ready, the students start arriving, you turn it off. That way you've got the great benefits of all the health and hygiene, while at the same time you turn it off when the building's in use to stay as sustainable and minimize your water usage as much as possible. If we take a look at the reports, this is one where there's just an entire variety of reports. And some of the key things is every customer likes different reports and every manager loves reports. So some of the ways you can use this report is for sub-metering. With LEED, you can actually get points by sub-metering the water usage. So you can actually go down and present a report that says, here is how much water was used each quarter or the previous quarter in these, by room. Or you can say, here is how much we use on the flush valves in your stalls and your urinals. Here's how much we used in the faucets. So this is great for helping you get points towards your LEED certification. The other thing you can do is sometimes there are just compliance reports that are required where they want to know what's going on. They want to know the water's running. They want you to validate the reclaimed water, just like we talked about before for a rebate. They may want to say, we want to know that you're doing everything you can to minimize risk and just to stay in front of the compliance issues. So some of the other items that you can take a look at in the health industry is hygiene reports. So every time, what is the ratio of flushometer activations or toilet and urinal flushes to hand washes? Are people washing their hands enough? How long are they washing their hand? What is the average faucet activation time? If you're in a building and you're doing some renovations, you may want to take a look at what products you already have. So that way, when they say, I am doing the next building in my university, I cannot remember what the name of that product was. I know it was Sloan. I know it's an ETF. You can pull up a report and it will tell you exactly which devices you have installed, which tells you what you need to spec on the next area of the product. It will also provide the ratio of flushometers to faucets in your building, which really helps you with the spec and the budgetary costs, so you know about the number of products you're going to need in a budgetary method. So you can just take a look at the different types of value. And now let's just take a look at the different features and capabilities of the system. So earlier on, I talked a little bit about the architecture as far as having bridges. This is what the architecture looks like for the Sloan system. We have our products, our IoT faucet, which are the Optima ETF line right now, and the IoT flushometers, which are our Solus products. All of those wirelessly and securely connect to a bridge. So this bridge collects the data from all of the products. You can actually have one bridge that will communicate with multiple restrooms. So it isn't a one-for-one. We have bridges that are talking to 4 restrooms. We're looking at one that can talk to 6 where we're doing the measurements. So we call them restroom groups. It automatically collects all of this data from all of the products. Then it securely sends it across the internet to an internet-based server. We actually put our server on Microsoft Azure. And so this is where all of the analytics take place. Here's where there's alerts and reports and where you can do all the device management. So it's where we take the data and we turn it into the information. Then you as a customer the customer would actually access Microsoft Azure. So you would see Microsoft Azure here up to your laptop or a tablet where you can actually see that. So what that means is anywhere you have an internet connection, you can log into your system and see what's going on. So you do not need to even be in the room. I can tell you here in Franklin Park, I've actually worked with our systems in the Andover office and in Sloan out in Mesa, Arizona, 1,700 miles away, and you can still get full management and control of those solutions. So let's just take a look at kind of the features and then some of the management capabilities. So we have a dashboard. So the dashboard actually gives you a very quick overview. So it's like, okay, here's a quick representation of my building. Here's any recent alarms I've had. here's my water usage for the past week. So it's just that quick snapshot that you can see. We allow you to take a look at 4 different levels for your facility. So you can take a look at the entire facility, which could be a campus. You know, if it's a university, it could be an entire stadium in another place. And then from there, you can go into areas or buildings. From there, you can drill down into what's going on with specific floors. Then finally, the restrooms. And when you click on the restroom, then you can actually see what's going on with each of the products. So it gives you all your usage and data analytics. It does all the programmable line flushes that we talked about. All of our reports are highly customizable. You can customize it by time frame, as far as the number of days, a month, year, quarter, however you need to do it for your reports. Each week, you can also customize it for the types of products and the areas, whether you need it done on a room by room basis or a building by building basis. So all of it is highly customized. And then you have all of the alerts. All of our alerts, you can actually get a notification by email or by a text message. So you can sign up whenever you get alerts. It says, how would you like to see these particular alerts? And then you can let the system know. That's how you will be notified of that. As far as management capability, a lot of the management is built in keeping security and just keeping the system very secure. So what we've done is we actually have 3 different levels of user profiles. So what that means is some users who may just install the products, that's all they need to see. Then you may have a facility manager. He wants to take a look and be able to pull all the reports, but he doesn't really need to be able to invite users and see what activities the different people are doing. And then we have our account administrators who have access to all the features, including all of the audit logs. What we've done is we know many organizations use contractors, particularly if they're doing a renovation or a large installation. So what we've done is whenever you invite these contractors, which would be an installer, into the system, you can set up their access to automatically expire. So if you say, hey, our project is supposed to be done by August 1st before the school year starts, you can actually say, all right, by August 8th, their access expires and they will no longer be able to get into the system. So it just protects you from people who are no longer working on the system being able to get in there and make changes or do anything that you really don't want them to do. You can take a look at the audits of your products. You can take a look at what different users are doing. So you may say, you know, it seems like Miss Anderson there is always busy. Let me see what activity she's been doing. You can say, wow, she's running around to a lot of restrooms. She's using the system a lot. She's pulling great reports. So I know that this system is being well used by her. Can also monitor your alarms. So if there is an alarm that occurs, the system says you can acknowledge it. So let's say an alarm occurs for building A, then the maintenance team manager for building A gets this alarm and they have to acknowledge it and say, yep, I saw this alarm. I know it exists. And then once they go in and they clear this alarm, then they can say, go back and say, I have now cleared this alarm. I fixed whatever was wrong. So now you can start taking a look at your cycle times. How long from the time of a problem does it take for somebody to acknowledge they've got this problem? Once it's acknowledged, how long does it take them to actually get it fixed? So you can start taking a look again at your team, at your resolution time, and what are things you can really do to improve the efficiency of your building and your customer satisfaction. And then, of course, you get a lot of the real-time insights. So these are just things we've done for the features and capabilities. And I just want to go a little bit further here on security. So as we talked about, we've got user login. Contractors can automatically be expired out of the system. The only way to get access to the system is an invitation. Only the account administrator can invite other people in the company into the system. So it's very controlled. The user has to have passwords, so it's password protected. The different types of the 3 user roles, you can really control the feature access that they have. So that's one type of security that we have built into the system. As far as the data itself, we know that, this is huge. And we know that there are certain customers, particularly in the financial industry, that may say, hey, I don't want anything going through my firewall. I have highly sensitive financial data. I cannot even risk somebody hacking into that. So I want you to use an LTE cellular connection from your bridge so that it goes right from that bridge right to the server on Microsoft Azure, and it doesn't even go through my firewall. That way they feel comfortable. Most others will say, I feel comfortable provided you have the correct or the right types of security measures in place that I am looking for. And one of those is just encryption, the ability so that you can encrypt the commands, you can make sure that people can't understand any of the information flowing back and forth. We use a very secure technology. We actually use a different wireless protocol so that it's a little bit harder for people to figure out what's going on, makes it far more difficult to hack. And finally, all of our data, as I said before, is stored on Microsoft Azure. One of the key reasons we chose them is all of the platforms that we use across Microsoft Azure are what is called SOC 2 compliant. And so the SOC 2 is one of the highest security standards that exists. So Microsoft has to go into these platforms and basically recertify them every year, making sure that that data is very protected, access to it is very protected, so that once we get your data and it's on Microsoft Azure, it is highly secure. So just take a look. I just wanted to show you real quickly, we're not going to have time to do a demonstration, but this is actually what the dashboard looks like. So I actually pulled this from one of our facilities. You can see this is Sloan, Arizona. And you have this is just the rectangular, the card view. There's 6 restrooms there. So you can see there were no recent alarms. And you can take a look at the activity over the past week. So I can take one look at this and go, oh, wow, they must have had an event on October 27th. Look how high the usage went up. So I figure there's something going on during this time frame. So you can kind of see the different views. You can drill down here. You can set up your devices. You can click here to see all your alarms. You can click here to see all of your reports. And the other item is you see this help. We made this system to be as intuitive as possible. We know how difficult it is. Who likes documentation? You see the paper and you set it aside, right? And so then, and then we also know that if you're installing a product, or sometimes it can be a bit of a pain to get on the internet and try to find the documentation. So all of that is built right into the system. And all you have to do is click on help. Some of the pages actually have it to the right, and it will walk you through how to do the different features. You can actually pull up the documentation, the parts explosion, the spec sheets, all of the details that you need to really be as efficient as possible and to get the most out of this system. So just a little bit more about reports. And you can see right now we have 11 and growing. We are constantly working with our customers, understanding what additional types of reports that they would like to see, what really provides value for them. And this gets back into just understanding the value proposition to the customers. We can do the lead submetering just by looking at usage by location. We can run compliance reports as far as looking at hygiene ratios of toilet activations to faucet activations. You can also take a look at the average faucet activation time. Clearly, if you're a health facility or you have a restroom close to where food is prepared, you'll want to make sure they're following the CDC guidelines and that activation time is, an acceptable length. They're not doing what we like to call the 1.5-second splash and dash. You can also validate your water savings from reclaimed water. You can take a look at what you've done for risk and just stay in front of these different events. So just some of the other reports, you can take a look at time since last activation. our product isn't being used, what's going on with that? You know, let's take a look and see what's going on. I want to know what products are most used. Just a little anecdotal story. We have a system that we are testing here in Franklin Park of our next release. And we actually put in an ETF 700, and we call it like a gooseneck faucet. Most of the other faucets are like the ETF 610. It's actually one of the highest used faucets in the entire restroom. And so we don't know if it's a novelty because it's different, if it's because it's easier for the men to get their hands under and to wash a little bit easier, or if it happens to be more the placement of where it is in the restroom. But what that could indicate is if you're seeing more usage with that type of faucet, a place may say, okay, maybe I should put gooseneck faucets over by where the food is prepared. So it's much easier for the people to not only scrub their hands and wrists, but maybe go a little bit under their arms because they're not leaning way down under the faucet to try to get this to happen. So there's a lot of things that are really interesting as far as human behavior that you can go through and pick up on all of these different reports. So that just gives you a quick overview. I can show you a couple of slide snapshots of what the product views look like. And while I do that, if you have any questions, here's your great opportunity to get all of those typed in so that Tiffany can see them and then can ask them. So just real quickly, here's a faucet detail. What you can see is it says, hey, this is an Optima. Here's the SKU. Here's how many times it's been activated. Here's exactly where it is, how many operating hours, gives you your battery usage. It's an ETF, so it's hardwired with the battery backup. You know it's activating normally, and you can actually take a look at the different settings. So here's the flushometer, same thing. You can get what the device does, a little bit of information, where exactly it's located, the health of it. And I just want to point out something that's kind of interesting here on our daily activations. So this particular one gets used about 12 times a day. Note these dips. These dips actually represent Saturdays and Sundays because this is in our manufacturing facility. So I can actually say, oh, Saturday, Sunday, we had a little bit longer. We actually had a 3-day weekend, that came up, and then we went on break. So you can actually take a look and say, all right, here's what's going on. And then you can see the alarms, what's been resolved and what's not. So just to give you a little bit of an idea, some of these images and all may look very familiar, Sloan Connect. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tiffany to read the questions.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Faye. I'm looking right now. I don't have any questions right now in the comment box. Also, if you guys would like to raise your hand, I can also unmute your mic. If anyone has a question, we can do it that way as well. I'll give you a few minutes here. Okay, I don't see any questions right now, Faye. So thank you so much.
You're
we
welcome.
Appreciate it. This has been such a fantastic webinar. Yes, we see the little hands clapping. Just
so
as a reminder, yes, absolutely. And we will be reaching out to everyone that has attended this webinar, just in case you do have any further questions or would like to set up a meeting with Faye to do a deeper dive into the Sloan Smart and Connected Restroom. And also, just as a reminder, this webinar has been recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel, PM and Associates. And you can also reach out to us at p-massoc.com. That is our website and has all of our contact information on there as well. So you can always reach out to PM and Associates for any further questions about Sloan or the Connected Restroom.
All right. Well, thank you so much again. For your time.
Yes, thank you so much, Faye. We really appreciate it.
All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.